3 bone-chilling true horror stories that haunt you at midnight. Are you being watched? The clock struck midnight, and something sinister stirred in the shadows. 3 stories, drenched in fear and mystery, began to unravel, leaving every listener breathless. Picture this: a family in a remote cabin, deep in the woods, receiving mysterious phone calls that came from their own vanished daughter. The air thickened with dread, their hearts beat too loudly, echoing the unknown that crept ever closer. Every night, the starlit sky turned ominous, and strange whispers floated through the trees, chilling them to the bone. Then, there was the tale of the haunted doll, a porcelain figure with glassy eyes that seemed to follow your every move. They say it once belonged to a little girl who vanished without a trace. Now, that doll sat on a dusty shelf in a dimly lit attic, waiting. The locals avoided it, claiming they could feel its cold gaze burning into their souls. A few brave souls touched it, only to wake later, breathless and screaming, unable to shake the feeling they weren't alone anymore. What happened to those who dared? And let us not forget about the old, abandoned hospital that loomed at the edge of town. Graffiti painted the crumbling walls, but whispers of ghostly screams echoed inside. No one dared to go near after dark. Yet, a group of curious teens entered one night, daring each other to go deeper, to experience the horror up close. Suddenly, the lights flickered, doors slammed, and they could hear it, the low, chilling laugh of something lurking, something that wanted to play. Would they make it out alive? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect, the stories weave together, whispering truths too horrific to ignore. But deep down, there was a question that gnawed relentlessly: were these just stories, or were they warnings? As the last echoes of laughter faded into the night, the tension hardened. Shadows danced outside, and the realization hit them each tale bore a truth, a lurking fear that perhaps, just maybe, someone was watching. It was in that suffocating silence when a new night began to unfold, thick with whispers that crept through the trees like a predator stalking its prey. The moon hung low, casting silver beams through the twisted branches, trembling like the hearts of those who dared to follow the stories back to their roots, into the very depths of fear that had a life of its own. Did you hear that? A voice trembled in the dark, shattering the eerie quiet. A group of 5 stood at the edge of the forest, their faces illuminated only by the pale light of their phones. They were haunted by their own curiosity, drawn like moths to the flickering flame of something sinister. Each tale they'd heard had left a mark, etched deep beneath their skin. Now, they couldn't shake off the feeling that they were intertwined with the haunted stories only whispered about at midnight. As they stepped deeper into the forest, the wind howled around them. It felt as if the trees themselves were alive, their branches clawing at the sky, attempting to reveal the twisted secrets that lay hidden below. One of them, Emma, felt a chill race down her spine as they approached a dilapidated cabin, its windows like profound, dark eyes staring blankly back at them. That is when things shifted. What if we hear her? She muttered, her voice barely a whisper, despite the growing sense of dread clenching her heart. The others exchanged nervous looks, uncertainty hanging thick. The stories of the cabin's past echoed in their minds: mysterious calls, cries for help, a little girl's laughter that turned into wails of despair. In a sudden rush, Oliver grabbed the door handle, his fingers trembling, each knuckle white as he pushed it open. The creaking sound seemed to awaken the very essence of the house, a groan of warning that reverberated in their souls. They entered with trepidation, flashlights flickering, illuminating dust and remnants of a life long abandoned. Is it just me, or does it feel like we're being watched? Mia's eyes darted, scanning the corners, the shadows almost alive, teetering between reality and something far darker. Just then, a soft giggle echoed through the room, slicing the tense air like a knife. Their hearts raced, pounding against their ribs as they froze in place. "Okay, this isn't funny," Sean yelled, bravado fading as the sound of laughter faded and morphed into a desperate scream. The group exchanged panicked glances, fear overloading their senses. Why had they come? "Let us get out of here," Emma urged, but before they could retreat, the cabin door slammed shut behind them. A rush of wind whipped through the space, extinguishing their lights, plunging them into darkness. Suddenly, the old wooden floor squeaked as if someone or something was moving closer. Breathless, they huddled together, consuming the stagnant air choked with dread. "Who's there?" Mia called out, her voice shaking, barely a whisper. In response, a soft voice drifted through the shadows, a calling that sounded hauntingly familiar. "It's me, I'm waiting." The temperature plummeted, their breath crystallizing in the chilling air, hearts hammering as the very essence of terror enveloped them. The walls seemed to close in, memories of the little girl's laughter and pain merging into one suffocating reality. What were they about to uncover? Would they emerge with the truth, or become part of the macabre stories that haunted the midnight air forever? Just then, a sickening realization settled deep in their bones. In the middle of the growing terror, one question loomed larger than all others: what waits for them in the depths of darkness, and who, or what, might be watching them now? The air vibrated with a low, almost mournful hum that seemed to wrap around the group, squeezing the oxygen from their lungs. Emma, heart racing, could barely hear her own thoughts over the sound of the blood rushing in her ears. The shadows stretched ominously, seeming to breathe alongside her. She clutched Mia's hand tightly, fingers tangling together, desperate for any sense of solid reality amidst the chaos. "Stay close," she whispered, her voice trembling. They huddled together, the cold wooden floor creaking under their weight like a beast awakening from slumber. Every sound felt magnified, as if the forest had come alive in response to their intrusion. But that voice, it gnawed at Emma's thoughts. "I'm waiting." What was it waiting for? Her stomach twisted with an ominous dread. In that moment, Sean broke the silence, his bravado crumbling. "What do we do? We can't just stand here." Panic edged into his tone, spurring Emma's racing thoughts. Should they call out again, risk drawing whatever lurked in the darkness closer? Or should they remain silent, hoping the shadows would forget their presence? And then it happened. The soft voice echoed once more, closer now, its resonance chilling. "Come play with me." "No," Mia breathed, stepping back instinctively, but the walls felt like they were pushing in, surrounding them with suffocating force. Torn between fear and an urge to uncover the truth, Emma felt a surge of determination rise within her. "We need to find a way out," she declared, adrenaline kicking into gear. "There has to be a window or another door." But even as she spoke, the darkness around them thickened, pressing against them like a looming storm. Another shriek pierced the air, sharper this time. A chaotic blend of laughter and despair that sent chills racing up Emma's spine. Something deep within that cacophony touched a raw nerve, igniting buried memories and emotions she was not prepared to face. Sweet, innocent laughter danced through her mind, haunting and at the same time oddly familiar. Pressing her lips together to quell the rising nausea, she severed the connection before it spiraled further. "Emma! Focus!" Oliver's voice snapped her back to reality. "We need to stick together. Remember the stories, the girl. She was trapped here. It's the only way to escape her, to find out what she wants." "Don't say that," Sean shouted, but there was a crack in his bravado. "Just shut it," Mia hissed, eyes darting as if searching for the unseen. "The more we talk." Another giggle erupted from the shadows, light and taunting. Each laugh felt like needles digging into their minds. Emma felt the room shift, the atmosphere thickening into an unbearable weight. Gritting her teeth, she summoned the courage. "What do you want?" she shouted into the abyss, defiance mingling with desperation. The laughter stilled, silence enveloped them tight and heavy. Then, the air flipped, and a sweet, melodic voice responded, "I want to play a game." Forever shadows shifted in response to the ghostly whisper. The wooden floor creaked ominously as if a massive weight was shifting just out of sight. Horror coursed through Emma's veins, and instinctively, they all turned towards the direction of the sound, hearts pounding in tandem. Shattered remains of childhood innocence echoed in each heartbeat, dragging them deeper into their nightmarish reality. The wind howled again, wrapping around them like a whispered warning, and Emma realized something dire. Whatever awaited them wasn't just a figment of fear but something that hungered for them, for their very souls. Across the room, something shifted, a fleeting outline in the corner. The nostalgic silhouette of a child devoid of innocence, framed by shadows, eyeing them with unholy glee. They were trapped in a house where time unraveled. And in that darkness, with fear pulsing through her, one horrifying thought clawed at her mind: were they the next players in her eternal game? Before they could react, a loud crash echoed through the cabin, the floorboards buckling beneath their feet as the walls shuddered. The darkness grew, surviving on their fear, feeding hungrily on their wayward thoughts. What awaited them beyond that overwhelming veil? In the heart of the darkness, they were faced with a dire choice: to confront whatever twisted fate lay ahead or join the little girl in her haunting game forever. The ground trembled beneath their feet, a rhythm of panic vibrating through every fiber of Emma's being. She shoved against the wall, trying to stabilize herself as the cabin seemed to come alive, warping in and out of reality like a nightmare refusing to let go. The shadows danced, twisting into grotesque figures that loomed over them, mocking their fear with whispers barely audible. "Get away from that side!" Sean yelled, pushing Mia closer to Emma. The group huddled tighter, each of their breaths quickening, a storm brewing within the small space as they all fought for control. "Perhaps if we just sit still," Oliver began, but his voice trailed off as the shadows flickered in response. They leaned toward them, thirsty for whatever warmth their fear provided, and within a heartbeat, Emma's hope began to drain. "I'm not waiting to see what it wants," she shot back, eyes darting around, desperately searching for some kind of escape, something to break her free from this chilling nightmare. "We have to find that door." Mia's warning came too late. With a deafening splintering noise, one of the walls cracked open as if the house itself had gasped in pain. A narrow passage split open, darkness so thick it seemed alive. Panic surged as the group exchanged glances, measuring the weight of the choice laid before them. Do we go?" Sean stammered, glancing at the beckoning void, uncertainty etched across his face. "What if it leads to something worse?" Mia interjected, her grip tightening around Emma's hand. "This could be a trap." But as the blood-curdling laughter returned, rising with an eerie melody that echoed in their bones, Emma sensed the urgency. The laughter merged with whispers that threaded into her mind, wrapping around her thoughts until they became foggy and indistinct. "Come play forever," the girl's voice sang, and dread pooled in Emma's stomach, curling like a serpent. "Let us go while we still can." Emma blurted out, her voice a mixture of fear and determination. "We can't stay here. We have to move." With one final exchange of uncertain glances, they fled toward the gaping abyss, bodies pressed tight against the walls as they plunged into the unknown. The passage swallowed them whole, and the world behind them warped into silence. The air shifted, grew lighter. It felt like stepping underwater, sound muted and voices lost. Suddenly, lights flickered in the distance, faint glimmers that beckoned them forward. They raced toward it, not knowing if escape lay ahead or merely more terror. Each footfall echoed a frantic rhythm as the allure of freedom tugged at their hearts. "Emma, do you see that?" Oliver piped up, pointing toward the shimmer. It could have been hope, an escape from their icy prison, but along with it came a sharp pang of dread. Something about the glow felt deceiving, a glint of false promises. The warm light danced invitingly, yet the shadows at their backs seemed to hiss in warning, a dark chorus lamenting their departure. "Wait! What if it's a trap?" Mia's voice shook as she hesitated, fear clawing at her resolve. "It's a chance," Sean replied, urgency lacing his words. "We can't go back. We need to know what's ahead." Before they could decide, the laughter echoed again, closer this time, more insistent. "I'm still waiting," it chimed, weaving through the light like a haunting tendril. Emma's heart thundered as they pushed onward, the lights growing brighter, but so did the laughter, morphing into a sinister symphony that threatened to engulf them all. Just as they reached the end of the passage, the liminal space opened wide, revealing a vast chamber shrouded in shadow and flickering lights. Suddenly, a grinning figure emerged from the dark, eyes glinting with malevolence. "In my game, there's no escape," it rasped, voice slithering through the air. Before they could react, the darkness surged, spiraling around them like a massive current pulling them down into its depths. Would they confront the game's harrowing rules or be lost among its restless spirits? Emma had to decide, fast, what would the next move be in this deadly dance of survival? The darkness coiled tighter around them, each tendril cold and suffocating, as if the chamber itself were alive and observant. Emma gasped, the air thick like syrup, constricting her lungs. She flailed, trying to reach Sean, her heartbeat pounding in her ears. Panic surged like a wild river in her chest. "Get back!" she screamed, her voice tearing through the silence, but the shadows seemed to swallow it whole. The figure laughed, the sound ringing hollow, echoing off the chamber's walls as it stepped closer, revealing a ghastly smile. "Welcome to the game," it sneered. "You've already lost." Emma's stomach dropped, and she could see Sean and Mia frozen in shock, the gravity of their situation sinking in. Oliver's eyes darted around as if searching for an exit that wasn't there. The otherworldly figure shimmered slightly, a warped reflection of something both familiar and wholly alien. What do you want?" Mia stammered, her small body shivering. The grinning figure leaned forward, its face inches away. "Oh, it's simple, you play or you vanish." With those words, the chamber erupted in chaos. The ground shook violently, throwing them off balance. Oliver stumbled back, mouth agape, while shadows surged, crashing against the walls like a storm. Emma fought to keep her footing, desperation clawing at her throat. "Emma! What do we do?" Sean's frantic whisper sliced through the noise. The fear in his eyes spurred something fierce within her. She took a deep breath. "We find a way to play, and win." Her voice was steadier than she felt. They had no choice. An escape route might lie ahead if they followed the twisted rules laid before them. "Okay." Sean nodded, gripping Emma's hand, unyielding. "What's the first move?" "Together," Oliver shouted. "We face it together." He squared his shoulders, stepping forward, drawing courage from their clutched hands. Emma could sense the power of unity swirling among them, a beacon amid the darkness. The figure cackled, raising its hands as if conducting a symphony. "Ah, yes. But first, let us play a little game of trust. Choose a path, but beware only one leads to freedom." In that moment, the shadows morphed, splitting the chamber into 3 separate corridors, each cloaked in darkness yet pulsating with a different energy. Emma stared at the chaos before her, the corners of each path crawling with shadows, each beckoning her with a whisper promising liberation or doom. "Which way?" Mia asked, her voice trembling, uncertainty glimmering in her eyes. Emma closed her eyes, focusing on the whispers weaving into her thoughts, growing stronger. I feel something from the right path." "The right one?" Sean echoed, an edge of disbelief cutting through the air. "But what if it's a trick?" "We don't have time," Emma shot back. "All paths might lead to danger, but one of them has to be real." Before further debate could ensue, the figure's laugh echoed again, dark and heavy. "Time's up, children. Choose before the shadows decide for you." A sudden surge of adrenaline made Emma's heart race. "Let us go!" she yelled, charging toward the right corridor, tugging Sean and Mia along with her. They plunged into the darkness. The air crackled with static as the walls pulsed. Whispers turned into screams, shadows clawing at their backs, a whirlwind of voices urging them to turn back. But Emma pressed forward, the promise of escape leading her deeper into the unknown. With every step, as fear wrapped around her throat, she realized they were being drawn into a web something larger than her imagination, and then it hit her the realization like a flash of lightning. What if this wasn't just a game for survival? What if this entity played for something far more sinister? As they raced further down the corridor, a blinding light bathed them, illuminating a space that felt almost too pleasant, too bright, too unreal. "Emma, stop!" Oliver shouted, eyes wide. But it was too late, the light consumed her. Emma turned just in time to see her friends retreating back into the darkness, the figure's laughter trailing after them like a curse as the world around her vaporized. Had she made the wrong choice? In that moment, doubt gripped her heart harder than the shadows ever could. What awaited her in this blinding light? And could she ever find her way back to her friends? A different game had begun, and the rules were only starting to unfold. The brilliance of the light enveloped her, wrapping around Emma like a fragile veil. She blinked, trying to focus, but the world before her felt like a dream. It wasn't the same chamber they had entered. Instead, she stood in a vast expanse, luminous white stretching endlessly around her. It was surreal and disorienting, almost as if reality bent under the weight of unseen forces. "Hello?" she called, her voice wavering in the fanciful air. No echo returned, only silence stretching like a taut string. Suddenly, the light shimmered, and figures began to materialize within it, a crowd of shadowy shapes, standing in stillness and gazing at her with hollow eyes. Each face felt eerily familiar, yet distorted, like images half-remembered. "Emma," a haunting whisper emerged from the multitude. It had multiple tones, intertwining, sending a chill rippling down her spine. "You shouldn't have come here." The heartbeat of dread pulsed in her ears, filling the serene moment with a cold edge. What was this place? Were these people trapped here as well? "Who are you?" she stammered, but the figures only gazed back, their faces swirling in obscurity. Seconds stretched painfully, the pressure mounting behind her chest. Then the ground beneath her cracked, fissures shooting through the radiant floor, forming dark, jagged lines. The whispers turned chaotic, a maelstrom of sound blending together. Play the game." Before she could comprehend it, the ground lurched, pulling her toward one of the gaping cracks. Panic surged within her once more. "No!" she screamed, desperately clawing at the smooth substance, but the energy was relentless. Just as she felt herself about to plunge into the void, the shadows around her surged forward, coiling around her arms and legs. "Don't fight it," they hissed, their tones a blend of sorrow and malice. "Embrace the game." With a surge of strength, she tore herself away from the shadows, pushing against the light until she stumbled backward. She fell, tumbling through the air, and as she landed hard on solid ground, the light dimmed to a soft glow. Emma found herself back in a twisted version of the chamber, this time alone. The walls whispered truths darker than any shadow, long-buried regrets spilling out like poisoned breath. Her friends were gone, swallowed by the uncertainty, yet their voices echoed faintly through the gloom, now more insistent than before. "Emma, where are you?" The familiar tremor of Sean's voice cut through the despair. But it was distant and fading, a beacon just out of reach. A rush of dread filled her gut. "No! I have to find them!" She yelled into the emptiness, forcing herself to her feet. The entity's words, a sinister puzzle embedded in her mind, lingered. Play or vanish. What would happen if she failed? A path unfolded before her, an open corridor riddled thinly with light just enough to see shadows flitting at its edges. Beyond it, darkness pooled, murky and menacing like a stormy sea. Fear gnawed at her resolve, but she pressed on, determined to track down her friends. Emma hesitated before the slender pathway, glancing back at the growing shadows that seemed to pulse with an odd heartbeat, as if waiting for her misstep. This new corridor loomed ahead like a mouth, hungry and ready to swallow anything that dared enter. The whispers returned, barely audible yet laced with urgency. "Choose wisely. Only one path leads to salvation." Heart racing, Emma took a step forward. Each heartbeat echoed, reverberating through the tight space like a signal. The darkness around her shifted, responding, alive and waiting for her decision. What awaited her at the end? And would she find her friends or plunge deeper into the shadow's grasp? With a final breath, she took another step, knowing she was diving into a game far more treacherous than she ever imagined. Was this the end of her story, or merely the beginning? The corridor glowed faintly, illuminating the swirling shadows that danced around the edges of the light. Each flicker seemed like a warning, a reminder of the danger lurking just beyond her sight. The air crackled with tension, promising a reckoning with whatever lay ahead. Emma bit her lip, forcing her feet to move, wishing for a hint of what awaited her down this ominous path. As she advanced, every step echoed with uncertainty. The whispers grew louder yet morphed into something more chaotic, intertwining with each other like a tangled web. Choose or lose them forever, they clawed at her resolve, every word heavy with dread. Stop it! She shouted, her voice trembling. Tell me what you want. The shadows pulsed, drawing closer, their forms shifting and writhing. Suddenly, a familiar face emerged from the gloom, the ghostly visage of her friend Nora, pale and pleading, her lips moving yet soundless. Emma's heart raced. Nora! She reached out, but the shadowy figure faded away, leaving only a lingering chill. The walls around her murmured secrets, hidden truths clawing to the surface. They are trapped. You must finish the game, finish it. Emma could barely breathe, the air thick with despair. How could she save her friends when she didn't even understand the rules? At that moment, a decision wrangled in her mind. A door flickered into existence to her left, vibrating with urgency. Light pooled from beneath it, casting silhouettes of fleeting figures inside. It felt almost magnetic, calling to her. Could this lead her to Sean and the others? But a deeper shadow coiled around the other side. Thick, velvety darkness, pulling her gaze away from the light. It felt alive, hungry. Don't go to the light, the whispers warned. It's a trap torn between hope and fear. Emma's heart raced wildly. What do I do? She whispered, glancing back down the corridor, which now felt even more foreboding. The choice loomed larger than the door itself. Which path would lead her to her friends? In a heartbeat, images of her friends flooded her mind, laughter, camaraderie, the adventures they had shared. Sean's comforting smile illuminated her spirit, urging her onward. She couldn't let herself drown in the darkness. Their lives depended on her. Taking a deep breath, she stepped toward the door, hands trembling as she reached for the handle. The cold metal sent shivers through her bones, yet the resolve in her heart burned bright. With a swift twist, the door creaked open, revealing a room overflowing with fog. Glimpses of shadowy figures flitted through the white mist. Panic flashed in her mind, but she pressed on. Sean! Nora! Anyone? She called, hoping that her voice could bridge this strange chasm. Then, silence settled, a heavy weight that clawed at her senses. Suddenly, out of the fog, a single voice emerged, deep and rumbling. You shouldn't have come here, Emma. It was unmistakably Sean, distorted yet hauntingly familiar. Sean! She yelled, stepping further in. But the fog shifted, and shadows turned back into whispers. Choices have consequences, they hissed, circling her once more. The air grew thick, almost suffocating. Tell me what I need to do. She cried, desperation leaking into her voice. You must embrace the truth, came the eerie reply. Only then will you find them or lose yourself forever. Emma's chest tightened as she struggled to process the weight of those words. What truth? What darkness was she about to uncover? With every beat of her heart, it felt like time was slipping away. The whispers and shadows began to close in once again. If she didn't find a way to escape this twisted game, she too would become part of its dark tapestry. Could she face the truth, or would the shadows consume her entirely? The fog seemed to thicken, swirling around Emma like a sentient entity. Each breath was a fight, the air felt heavier with every passing moment. Shadows crept closer, their whispering growing more frantic. You must choose before it's too late. Choose what? Panic surged within her, making her pulse quicken. She squinted through the haze, desperate to spot Sean or Nora. Where are you? Embrace the truth. Sean's voice echoed again, deeper now, filled with an authority that sent a chill down her spine. What truth, Sean? What do you mean? The shadows were now almost upon her, shifting and pulsing with malevolent energy. Then, to her shock, the fog parted, and she saw a glimmer of a memory, a scene from years gone by. She saw Sean older, yet familiar, standing with Nora at a summer party, the sunlight bathing them in warmth. Laughter echoed in her mind, igniting a flicker of hope. But the warmth soon faded, replaced with a hollow dread as the image distorted, replaced by another memory. A stormy night, rain lashing against the windows, lightning illuminating the darkened room at the local diner. A heated argument between friends, faces twisted in anger. The choices they made that night had sealed their fates, devoted friendships unraveling in an instant. Emma shook her head, trying to dispel the visions threatening to drown her in grief. This isn't the truth. This can't be all there is. Every truth has a weight, the whispers hissed, intertwining with the growing fog. You must carry it or be crushed beneath its burden. What am I even meant to do? Her words were nearly drowned by the cacophony of chatter that filled the air, voices layered like a blanket of chaos. Face your fears. It was Sean again, but his voice was rough now, laced with an urgency that pushed her further. Emma steeled herself. If she was going to come out of this, she needed to face whatever darkness lurked within. All right, I will face it. Show me what I need to see. The fog swirled violently, and Emma was pulled forward, stumbling but determined. She felt a presence at her side, cold and menacing. The whispers grew louder, chanting her name, pulling her toward a glowing circle that had materialized in the center of the room. As she stepped closer, the visions returned, each one more haunting than the last. Sean's face, twisted not in anger but broken by despair. The memories flooded in secrets long buried and fears she had tried to forget. Pictures of moments when she could have made different choices, paths she could have taken. Is this who I am? She cried out, fear twisting her stomach. Is this my truth? A thunderous voice resonated from the shadows, your truth is what binds you. The more you hide, the more powerful the darkness becomes. Then let it come. She yelled defiantly, feeling strength rise within her. The energy in the room shifted, and suddenly, she was surrounded by her friends' embodied memories, all gazing at her with expectation. Will you save us? Sean's pleading eyes bore into her. The shadows engulfed them all, but this time she didn't falter. Emma's heart pounded, her resolve clearer than ever. She reached out to the light, allowing the warmth to wrap around her. I choose truth. The declaration roared from her soul, breaking the suffocating grip of shadows. In that instant, light exploded around her, tearing apart the fog and shadows. But she sensed a deeper darkness lurking, feeding off the chaos within. She had shattered only the surface. What new horrors awaited her? Would the truth lead her to salvation, or further plunge her into despair? Time was running out, and as the light flickered, a chilling whisper slithered through the air. The game has just begun. The blinding light enveloped Emma, almost overwhelming her senses. She felt both weightless and heavy at once, as if she had crossed into a realm beyond her own understanding. The shadows retreated, but their echo lingered in her ears, a dark symphony that refused to fade. For a moment, she stood alone in a bright void, her breath hurried and erratic. Slowly, the brilliance dimmed, revealing a new landscape. Still foggy, yet devoid of the oppressive feeling from before, it felt surreal, like stepping into a dream too vivid to shake off. Emma's voice cut through the stillness. Sean appeared, his silhouette sharp against the gentle glow of the space around them. He looked different, more aged, more serious. It sent tremors of worry through her. What happened? She choked out, the echo of fear threading through her heart. Where are we? This is the space of your choosing, Sean replied, his voice steady. You chose truth, and it brought us here for now. But we're still in danger. The darkness isn't gone. What do you mean? She felt panic claw at her throat. I thought I broke free. You merely opened a door. The real battle is still ahead, he said, glancing nervously at the edges of the glowing space. It flickered, casting shadows that danced like predators waiting to pounce. Emma turned to see Nora step forth, her familiar face twisted by anguish. We failed you, Em, she said, eyes brimming with tears. We should have been there. We allowed ourselves to be consumed. Consumed by what? Emma demanded, anger rising at the helplessness that had marked their past. What else is there? Suddenly, the light shifted. Images surged forth, chaotic flashes of moments missed, decisions that formed their fates like pages turning in a cursed book. She was yanked into one memory: a terrible accident on the bridge that had taken Nora's brother, a fight that bubbled over into ruin. No! Emma screamed, pulling at her hair as she tried to wrench herself away. We can't relive this. It's the lesson you didn't learn. Sean shouted above the consuming din. The more you push away, the more it becomes your chains. With a cry of defiance, Emma held on to the warmth from her declaration earlier. If this isn't the truth, then show me the way. The surroundings shifted again, melting into something darker. It felt like ice crawling under her skin, pushing deeper. She gasped as she found herself in a desolate forest, branches clawing at her as if alive. A chill swept over her, shadows lingered just beyond her vision, watching, waiting. That in the distance, a low growl rumbled, breaking the silence of the trees. It's coming for you, Emma, Sean said, voice low and grim. Whatever we unleashed, it will not stop until it claims you. I won't let it. Emma shouted defiantly, but doubt crept into her mind. The forest floor swallowed her footsteps, making it feel like she was moving through tar. In an instant, everything seemed to bend and swirl. The malevolent growl intensified, morphing into a cacophony of screams, pulling at the very fabric of her resolve. Embrace it, or it will consume you. Nora's voice penetrated the chaos, urging her to stand firm. Emma drew a breath, shaking. I won't give in. The conviction ignited a fire in her core, but the shadows were pressing closer now, feeding off her fear. Around her, the growl transformed into laughter, a sinister echo that made her skin crawl. Face us, Emma, and make your choice. The shadows formed grotesque figures, their eyes gleaming with hunger. Each one held a key to her truth, a reflection of her worst fears. Was this the path to her salvation, or was she stepping deeper into her own grave? As the laughter crescendoed into a scream that twisted her heart in knots, the ground beneath her began to crack. What lay beneath the earth, and would she survive the reckoning? The only way to find out was to plunge into the darkness and confront the truth that awaited her. Time was ticking against her, and the weight of destiny hung in the balance. She took a step forward, the air thick with tension, ready to discover if she could truly break free or if she was already lost. The shadows closed in, thick and heavy like a suffocating fog. Emma stood at the precipice, heart racing, every instinct screaming at her to flee. The sinister laughter echoed around her, a chorus of twisted glee that sent chills down her spine. But deep down, she recognized that running wouldn't save her. She needed to face whatever horror awaited in the darkness. Choose. The shadows hissed, their voices blending into a haunting song. Choose if you want to remain or vanish. Each word dripped with a chilling resonance, pulling her deeper into the dark abyss of her fears. Emma took a steadying breath, her resolve hardening. She had already ventured too far, lost too much. She wouldn't let the darkness consume her, nor would she abandon her friends. With newfound determination, she stepped forward. I choose to fight. Her voice rang out, defiant despite the quaking fear beneath it. The darkness pulsed around her as if alive, shuddering in response to her declaration. Suddenly, the shadows contorted and shifted, revealing grotesque faces twisted in torment. They loomed closer, their whispers swirling, but she pushed through the fear. If they represented her anxieties, her guilt, perhaps confronting them was her only path to freedom. "Show me the truth," Emma shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. The shadows screamed, a cacophony of anguish and rage exploding around her. She felt a violent tug on her heart, yanking her deeper into her past. Visions flooded her mind, each memory a tether binding her to the shadows. She saw moments she'd buried, arguments with her friends, choices she regretted, the night of the accident that had forever changed them. Emma squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block the flood of guilt threatening to drown her. But the shadows wouldn't relent. They twisted together, forming a dark mist that wrapped around her like chains, whispering vile things meant to break her spirit. "You're responsible for their pain. You can't escape this." "No!" Emma cried out, shaking her head, willing herself to throw off their grip. "It wasn't just my fault. We were all there. We made mistakes together." The words exploded from her, a cathartic release. Each proclamation chipped away at the weight that dragged her down. Sound rumbled from within the void, the shadows recoiled, vibrating with contempt. They were losing their hold. "Face your fears truly," a chilling voice beckoned, resonating from the depths. "Look at what you've lost and what you continue to hide." Emma turned to face the voice, her heart pounding. Would this be her reckoning or the end? "I'm ready," she declared, shaking. "Show me." In an instant, the air brightened, blinding her momentarily. The shadows unfurled, revealing a landscape she once knew, the diner from that fateful night. The laughter and chatter of friends drifted in the air, familiar yet haunting. "Emma!" someone called out. She turned to see classic versions of herself and her friends around the table, sharing stories and smiles. But the warmth faded, replaced by a heavy silence. They all looked at her with eyes full of sorrow, yet their mouths remained shut, as if waiting for her to speak first. "Is this the truth you wanted me to see?" she whispered, voice trembling. They nodded, expressions solidifying into something more serious. "You pushed us away," Sean's voice broke through, filled with regret. "We could have been stronger together." When his words hit her, it felt like a physical blow, piercing straight through her heart. The memories resurfaced, her stubbornness, the times she'd distanced herself during tough moments, the failed attempts to reach out and connect. The weight of it all sank her further. Suddenly, the shadows roared, angry and desperate. "See? You cannot escape what you've made. Keep hiding, and you will vanish eternally." The weight of their taunts fueled her anger. Emma straightened, steeling herself. "No. This is not who I am. I refuse to let you take control." With that, she focused on her friends, on their laughter, their bond. She felt their warmth pulse around her, and the shadows shrank back, frightened. "I choose to embrace the truth, the good and the bad," she shouted. "I can't go back, but I can learn. We can heal together. I want to let you take me." Energy surged through her, igniting a fire that burst forth like a sun from behind clouds, radiating warmth into the frigid dark. The shadows writhed, twisting and contorting as if under immense pressure. "No! You can't!" they shrieked, but their words were drowned out by the light. The brilliance forced the dark to retreat, each flicker exposing the path ahead. "Stay with me," she called to her friends, their spirits flickering into view, merging with her warmth. "Feel the truth." Nora echoed beside her, and Emma felt their connection surge. She reached out, and their hands clasped together, forming a circle of light amongst the shadows. Then it happened. The darkness trembled, rippling as if caught in a fierce storm. The shrieks transformed into a deafening roar, but their bond held strong. With one final push, Emma released the past's grip. We choose to rise. The light expanded, engulfing the shadows in a blinding brilliance. As the energy erupted, darkness shattered like glass, splintering in every direction. Emma felt herself being swept along with it, her soul tethered to her friends. The void around them collapsed, and reality blurred. They rushed through a brilliant passageway, colors exploding all around them. A pull, a surge of joy and relief erupted within as the shadows dispersed, revealing the world beyond freedom, hope, and the promise of healing. They collapsed onto soft grass beneath a brilliant blue sky. Emma inhaled deeply, the scent of pine and earth filling her lungs. The weight of darkness had lifted, leaving only the sound of wind rustling through leaves and distant laughter echoing in the gentle breeze. Emma glanced at her friends, their hearts still pressing close to one another. They were free, all of them alive and together. I thought we lost each other, Sean said softly, voice tinged with disbelief. We didn't, Emma replied, a smile breaking as tears formed in her eyes. We found the truth, together. Hand in hand, they rose toward the sun, shadows burned away, knowing they could face whatever came next armed with their unity and newfound strength. This chapter of their story was finally closed. But wait, before you go, there's something important. You need to subscribe now to catch every exclusive story we have coming up. This is the moment to show your support for the channel. So smash the like button now and help spread the word. Have theories or thoughts about the ending? Flood the comments section. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. The journey continues, and only the true fans can help keep the torch lit.